Hello and welcome to another Monday night movie night. Tonight's movie is one that is about immigrants coming to America decades and decades ago in the 1950s. And it's got an incredible cast with excellent writing, beautiful music, and just the whole mood and story just really can pull at your heartstrings. Anyways, it did for me. And I hope that you will enjoy it if you haven't seen it yet. I watched it when it first came out and I really loved it. I haven't seen it in a really long time. It came out in 2015. I think I watched it a few years ago, but the movie is called Brooklyn. And it is about an Irish immigrant coming to the United States in the 1950s, and she's from Ireland, and it's a wonderful story. Okay, before we get into it, I want to introduce myself. If you're new, if you're here, thank you for subscribing, liking, watching my channel, and the immigration legal information that I put out on this channel. I like to do these reviews of movies about immigrants and their stories on Monday nights. And tonight's movie, Brooklyn, is one that I really love. But my name is Larissa Davis, if you don't know already. I'm an immigration lawyer in the United States. I'm located in central Mississippi. I'm licensed to practice in all U.S. immigration courts across the United States. I have clients all over the United States. I do virtual appointments, I do in-person appointments, and this is sort of a time to step away a little bit from the law practice information that I put out on this channel and talk about immigrant experiences as they are shown through film, movies, which I love. And so each week on Monday nights, that's what I do. And if you've been here, thank you so much for watching. I think I've hit quite a few more subscribers just in the last week, and I love that. I'm so thankful for my viewers and subscribers. Feel free to comment, like, if you have any movies that you love and you want me to watch and talk about on this channel about immigrant stories, I would be happy to. So please share your favorites with me. Okay, so tonight's movie about this young immigrant from Ireland who is a woman, Eilis, coming to the United States because she's sponsored by somebody with the Catholic Church in Brooklyn, New York. She gets a visa and she's able to come to the United States. The story starts out in Ireland, and she has only known Ireland her whole life. This is where she grew up. This is where her family is. This is all that she has ever known. And so early in the movie, we learn that she gets this visa and that she's sponsored. She's young. I think she's probably in her late teens, early 20s. I don't know that we're told her actual age, but she kind of just feels like she doesn't have much in Ireland, so she's very open to the idea of traveling to the United States and for helping out where this priest with the Catholic Church, who is Irish, has sponsored her to come over and work in the United States. Let me just say, as an immigration lawyer, there are visas available to religious workers. And so if that is something you're interested in, you might want to look into more. There's plenty, of course, on the internet about religious workers and visas in the United States. Again, I'm an immigration attorney. You can call my office at 601-724-9255 if you want to talk about a visa. But back to the movie. So she's having to say goodbye to this home that she's known her whole life, which is Ireland, in this small town where she grew up. And so in the movie, even though she's leaving home and there's a lot of good, but there's also some bad, she's got her mother and her sister who she's very close with, and she's got this very just condescending, elitist boss, Miss Kelly, at the store she works at part-time, who she has to tell she is leaving. And she's getting ready to embark on this big trip, but she doesn't seem to really realize, it seems in the movie, the impact it will have, or what she's about to step into. She seems really oblivious about that. When you're young and you're eager to try something new or go somewhere new, you can possibly have those same kind of feelings. I know I did when I was young and I left home. I left the place where I knew and I grew up, and I went somewhere else I'd never been to. I didn't know anybody. And so I really loved watching this movie and relating to some of the experiences that Eilish, the main character, has in the story. So when she's saying goodbye, she is blowing kisses off the ship, ready to go. And her mother and her sister are going to miss her so much. And her mother is so just torn and upset and sad when she's waving goodbye that she actually leaves when the ship is pulling away from the dock where all the people are waving goodbye to the passengers leaving to the United States. I have been on both sides of that. I have been on the dock waving goodbye to those on a ship, on a U.S. military ship leaving. And I've also been on a U.S. ship, on a carrier actually, pulling out. And it's sort of a slow process, and it's this tension and this pulling away, this tearing almost of this connection that you have with your home, with your family, with your community and loved ones, and you're going off into the unknown. And it's really a lot of mixed feelings from my own experiences in different areas throughout my life, where I've left a place that I knew and I was familiar with to go off into the unknown, which was exciting, but also kind of bittersweet and sad. And for immigrants, going from a place where you know your town, your community, your home, to the United States might be that very well for you, where it's exciting, it's new, it's something different, but it's also sad because you're leaving what you know. And I think when we're young, it can be really easy to be looking forward to the big, new, different, with excitement and anticipation. And that's kind of what it seems like the main character was experiencing, where her mother wasn't feeling that at all. She was really, you could see in the movie, so sad and just heartbroken when she ran off to mourn her daughter leaving. I know when I was younger, I could not wait to go somewhere new and different, and that's exactly what I did. But something happens after that experience of going off to the new and going off to the different. And sometimes immigrants might experience that coming to the United States for new opportunities. For example, a student visa or some type of work visa, employer-based visa, where they start to feel the homesickness. And we see this after the family separation. The ship pulls away and she's off on her journey, and she's already missing her family. And thankfully, she meets somebody on the ship that helps her. She makes a friend. And so this is where I want to point out the importance of community in your new surroundings and making new friends wherever you might come from. If you're going to a new place where you know nobody, or maybe you only have one or two friends or connections, it's so important to get involved in your community, find out where you can participate. It could be all kinds of different things. I just went to a festival not long ago where there were a lot of members from the community for Hispanic Heritage Month. There were people from all over Central America, and it was amazing. It was incredible, so much fun, a lot of good food, good music, and people got to just to be close to one another and get to know each other, and it was awesome. So if you are somebody who is new to the United States, whether you are here for the long term or short term on a visitor visa, or I would say business or a student visa where you're going to be in the environment here in the United States for a long time, away from family, away from the community and security that you know back home, that you make those connections and you make those friends, because it's so important to have that support. So in the movie, Eilish does have this home where she lives with other females, and they all kind of have their own social life, or lack thereof. Some of them don't have a social life, but she is able to kind of be in the mix with all these different personalities, among other young women like herself. And so one of the things that I thought was really powerful in this movie, in telling this story about her longing for home, but also trying to just figure out and resettle in the United States, is when she goes to help volunteer feed the Irishmen. And I can't remember what the event or the holiday was, but when she goes there, one of the men sing, and his voice in singing the song that all these Irish men who are building the tunnels and the bridges and everything in New York City, they've all come, all these Irish immigrants, and they're just having a good time. They're eating, they're drinking, and this man stands up and sings for them. And it's sort of a reminder of their home country that is just so moving. I thought it was a really important part of the movie to show that emotion and that longing for home, because even if you're in a different place and you've made yourself a new home, you still always have that memory and feeling of where you grew up, and that feeling of what that's like and what home is for you, what it looks like, what it sounds like, what it smells like even. I know for me, coming from one part of the United States to another, that is something that I've also experienced, but probably not to the extent or extreme as somebody who has come all the way across from the other side of the world, from another country where they speak a different language. Maybe they eat different kinds of food, listen to different types of music, have different types of ways to recreate. And so seeing that in the movie, where they are all sitting there listening to him sing, I thought was a very powerful and moving and beautiful, and I love that part of the movie so much. Okay, so when the other part of that too is the fact that the priest with the Catholic Church, the Irish priest who's speaking to her, draws her in, and he kind of forgets, he's been in America so long, he forgets the difficulties that a person would experience coming to America for the first time. And so if you are somebody with a religion that you are very in touch with, you are a practicing believer, it's also important to stay in touch with your community within the religion you practice, whether that's being a Christian, or like she was a Catholic here in this Irish immigrant story, or Muslim, Jewish, whatever it is that you believe in, having that community of people, of believers in your faith to surround you is important. And so if you're new to a different city or state or area, region, whatever, of the United States, it's important to get plugged into your religious community as well. It makes a big difference. I know too a lot of, and I currently represent and have represented clients who may have crossed the U.S.-Mexico border, coming from Central or South America or even other parts of the world, and then they go off and they move to the East Coast. They move to California. They move to different places, Chicago or Arkansas or wherever in the United States, where they might have a family member, a brother, a sister, a cousin, somebody that they can live with, and it's a new environment. So having those kind of connections here in the United States with your your community, with your religion, your religious leaders is so important. And so when she's able to sit down and have that conversation with the priest, it helps her to kind of process what she's been going through, and also validate for her what she's been experiencing, that homesickness and that ache and that longing for home. Luckily, she goes on with some of the girls that she knows from where she is living to this dance. And this is where she meets a guy who's not Irish, he's Italian, at an Irish dance, but he likes Italian girls. And so this is how she meets her future husband, Tony, and he's so sweet and he's very interested in her, and he's just really respectful and caring, and they have this connection that slowly develops into more than just even a friendship, but this love and respect for one another, and they really enjoy each other's company, and it's just a really great match. So I love this love story within the immigrant story in this movie. Okay, so while she is longing for home, she misses her mother, she misses her sister. Unfortunately, her sister dies from this unexpected heart condition that she has. She doesn't want anyone to know about it. And so just when Eilish is getting to, feel more comfortable in her surroundings, especially because of Tony, he is so loving and caring and welcoming, and he just loves being around her. And it makes her feel a lot better. It seems like she's more relaxed, she's more at peace, and she's more happy. Even her, I guess, boss or supervisor, whoever the lady is at the department store is, comments on her just overall energy and her appearance, because she feels better about being where she's at, having Tony at her side, and just being such a great guy. And so she's just getting into that when unfortunately her sister dies, and her sister does not appear to be in the story much older than her. So it's really a tragic, sad, unexpected death, and it also means she needs to return to Ireland. But while she needs to go back to Ireland, and she's been missing Ireland, she's developed this really romantic, loving relationship with Tony. And sometimes I've seen this happen too, representing immigrants from other countries. You might come to the United States as an immigrant with the intent of just earning a degree, and you want to go back home, or coming on a work visa, or something that's temporary, a non-immigrant visa, and then you meet somebody and it's amazing, and and you did not expect it. Your whole world is shooken up, and it's just like how this just happened. Things come along that you don't expect, and suddenly you're in this really powerful, life-changing relationship. And I can think of a story not too far back, but where somebody was here on a student visa in the United States, and they met someone and they fell in love and they got engaged and they got married, and they actually documented all of it online on I think on YouTube was where they documented it. But that can happen sometimes too. An immigrant doesn't have the intent of being, or a non-immigrant does not have the intent of being an immigrant. And they meet somebody and it's a US citizen, they fall in love, they have this really great relationship, and eventually they get married. And so they start the process for a green card and this other whole path that they weren't planning on. And so in this story, she came to the United States, she got a job, and then suddenly the priest set her up with this accounting job, which she wanted to do that like her sister. And then unfortunately, bam, death occurs in the family with the passing of her sister, and she has to return to Ireland. And so the next sort of, I guess, idea or topic I wanted to speak on is the reaction of her former employer at Kelly's grocery store, the store where she worked, for this older Irish lady who's very just stuck up and elitist and condescending. I feel like everyone must have a Miss Kelly in their life. If you do and you want to share, please do put something in the comments. I feel like there's always some kind of Miss Kelly around in somebody's life who is just so insecure about their own lives. They're a busybody. They have to stick their nose in other people's business and try to put people down. And they're just insulting and stuck up, terrible people. And that's who she had worked for, unfortunately. But this lady in Ireland had pulled her aside at some point after her sister's funeral and before her best friend's wedding. And the important part of this story, in that meantime, she had been invited by her best friend to go out and meet her fiance, but also had popcorn was the snack tonight, which is my favorite most nights, with or without a movie. But anyways, so okay, anyway, so she goes out with her best friend, and she's able to meet her future husband, but her best friend brings along this other guy, this Irish guy, and he's great. He's nice, he's respectful and everything, but unknown to her best friend or her mother or anybody, Eilish is married. And so she is very uncomfortable in certain situations where she can, it seems that she's uncomfortable where she can tell maybe this gentleman is sort of coming on to her or flirting. And eventually they have a friendship, and it's great. And she feels really comfortable talking to him. It seems like she's talking a lot, mostly about her life in America. And, at some point in the story, you remember that she really missed Ireland, but then she developed this life in America, and now that's what she misses, and that's what she's looking forward to. And so as the story moves along, she has to make a decision whether to remain in Ireland or go back to America. And it's not really sort of presented in the movie. It's sort of, I guess, implied. She's very in her thoughts and in her mind. The actress is her name I cannot pronounce. I know her name. I've seen her in other movies. She's great. She's a really wonderful actress. I cannot pronounce her name. Saoirse. I'm not even gonna try. Okay. Anyways, if you've seen the movie, look at her name. The way it's spelled is not necessarily how it's said, because it's a Irish name. But anyways, she plays Eilish, the main character. But it's implied that she has to make this decision, and so this guy that she's met in the time before her best friend's wedding, who is a total gentleman and very nice, is not the passionate love of her life, who is her husband, the Irishman, the Italian man back in Brooklyn, New York. And that is who she really loves, and that's who she wants to be with, and that's who she misses very much. So as much as she has this longing for Ireland in the beginning, the life that she has created, the future that she has with this man, Tony, the Italian guy that she met in Brooklyn, is what she wants. That's what she really wants. And so she is in this, it seems at first a little bit maybe a dilemma, but she ultimately decides to continue on in America with her husband, because she does marry him. If you haven't seen it, sorry I ruined that. It's been out since 2015. So anyways, she chooses Tony, and that's who she loves being with. And they really complement each other well, because he's sort of like this really, I feel like, extroverted guy, and she's more, it seems like more on the quiet side and unsure, and they just seem like they really complement each other very well. I've never been to Brooklyn. I've been to New York City a couple times now, and unfortunately I ran out of time to where I could not get to all the areas and places I wanted to see. So I hope next time I go to New York, one day, eventually, I will get to see Brooklyn. If you've been there, you live there, share what you think about this movie. I also love seeing films where the generations of immigrants are a little bit further back and not as close to right now, what we've been experiencing over the last few decades. So for those of us who might have grandparents or great-grandparents or even further back that came from other countries to the United States, it's really interesting to kind of look back through ancestry, if you can, on who your family was and why did they come to the United States. I like to think about that because I have a mix of Mexican, Spanish, Irish, and German ancestors from my four grandparents on both my mother and father's side, and I wonder what it was that brought them to America. If you enjoyed the movie, or if you didn't, or you have some ideas or thoughts on different topics I necessarily didn't talk about or get into in this video, please share them. I also want to say that the last time I did go to New York was about a year ago, a little over a year ago, and I did go to Coney Island for the first time, and the Coney Island of the 1950s is not the Coney Island of today. Unfortunately, I think it looked beautiful and fun and clean. And the Coney Island I saw last year was not that. A lot more graffiti, rats running along the I forget what it's called, not the sidewalk, but the sea where all the wood boards are. I forget what that's called. Boardwalk, along the boardwalk. Anyway, I really love this movie. I love the story. If you enjoyed it, or you have any other comments, please again share with me and this channel. If there are some movies you want me to review, I would be happy to review them. I love movies, and there's so many good ones out there about immigrant stories. And speaking of great movies, one of the greatest movies of all time, The Godfather series. I will not be covering the entire series, but next week I plan to go into The Godfather 2 to talk more about the immigrant history there in that family story from Italy. And so I look forward to doing that. I'll see you next week.